Continuing, Canto 10, Chapter 40, starting with text 31. And what we just heard yesterday morning was the message carried by the messenger from the 20,000 kings who were imprisoned by Jarasandha because they refused to submit to him as the emperor and thus pay taxes and be under his control. They said no. So they were captured, put in prison, and they said various things in their prayers through the messenger, and Krishna's heard. He hasn't spoken anything yet. The messenger continued, "This is the message of the kings imprisoned by Jarasandha, who all hanker for your audience, having surrendered to your feet. Please bestow good fortune on these poor souls." 32. Shukadev Goswami said, "When the king's messenger had thus spoken, the sage of the demigods Narada suddenly appeared, bearing a mass of golden matted locks on his head. The supremely effulgent sage entered like a brilliant sun." 33. Lord Krishna is the worshipable master of even planetary rulers like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Yet, as soon as he, Krishna, saw that Narada Muni had arrived, he joyfully stood up along with his ministers and secretaries to receive the great sage and offer his respectful obeisances by bowing his head. So he knows that Narada knows that he's the personality of Godhead, and he has affection for him as his devotee. At the same time, part of the mystery of Krishna is he's not just setting an example, he's setting an example. He's not just setting an example, he is honoring his devotee in an appropriate way that a king or ruling personality, a Kshatriya, because he's not the king, but a ruling personality, a Kshatriya, would receive a Brahmana. So there's the worldly behavior, achar, and there's the transcendental devotion of the Lord towards his dear devotee. Same thing happens with receiving Sudama, at least the initial part. Purport. This translation is based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word muda indicates that Lord Krishna was delighted to see that Narada had arrived. Now, again, he's omniscient. And Narada arrived because he wanted Narada to arrive. But he's exhibiting emotions. He's experiencing emotions and he's exhibiting emotions, and it's part of the mystery. He was delighted. Same parallel when Sudama Brahman came. Krishna was, the commentary says, Krishna was bewildered. Look who's here. It's Sudama. And immediately stood up and, arms stretched, ran from his sitting place to greet Sudama. So there's bhava, there's emotion, there's transcendental love with his devotees, and at the same time there's etiquettes that are observed for the purpose of teaching ordinary people. So the transcendentalists don't dismiss etiquette, they follow etiquette. And as they're following etiquette, as it is appropriate for each person, they're experiencing loving exchange, particularly Krishna and his devotees, or Krishna's teaching. We had this nice discussion about when the devotees had come, this is Gaur Leela, when the devotees had come to Puri to participate in Rath Yatra. Of course, it was before Rath Yatra, it was before the Gundicha pastime, but so they had arrived in Puri, and Mahaprabhu brought Sanatana Goswami before them, introduced them one by one, and instructed Sanatana Goswami how to properly respect them according to their position, meaning those that are elderly, those that are of same age, those that are younger, but offering obeisances or offering respect to them as is appropriate, and they in turn received him according to their position. They gave their benedictions, they established friendship, and they offered him worship according to position. So Vaishnava etiquette is to be observed by transcendentalists. And there's teachings of standard etiquette, and we should have some sense of what they are. Unfortunately, using Prabhupada's phrase, the culture has been lost, largely. Now there are still people that are cultured, not just they know rules of etiquette, but spiritually cultured, and there are behaviors that are part of spiritual culture. And so the Bhagavatam is giving us some indication of how Krishna is observing that in relation to Narada. After Narada had accepted the seat offered to him, Lord Krishna honored the sage according to the scriptural injunctions, and, gratifying him with his reverence, spoke the following truthful and pleasing words. Lord Krishna said, "It is certain that today the three worlds have attained freedom from all fear, for that is the influence of such a great personality as you, who travel at will throughout all the worlds. There is nothing unknown to you within God's creation. Therefore, please tell us what the Pandavas intend to do." Now, how did he know he came from the Pandavas? And so if he knows that he came from the Pandavas, why does he have to ask? Because he must know, but he's giving Narada some service. Sri Narada said, "I have seen many times the insurmountable power of your Maya, O Almighty One, by which you bewilder even the creator of the universe, Brahma. O all-encompassing Lord, Bhuman. Bhuman is the Sanskrit word. O all-encompassing one. It does not surprise me that you disguise yourself by your own energies while moving among the created beings, as a fire covers its own light with smoke." Beautiful answer. Purport. When Lord Krishna questioned Narada Muni about the intentions of the Pandavas, the sage replied that the Lord is himself all-powerful and all-knowing, even to the extent that he can bewilder the creator of the universe, Brahma. Narada understood that Lord Krishna desired to kill Jarasandha and was thus beginning to arrange for this pastime by inquiring from Narada about the Pandavas' intentions. Understanding the Lord's own intention, Narada was not astonished when Lord Krishna humbly requested information from him. Now this is BBT purport, this isn't Prabhupada, but it's drawn from our acharyas. And right away, the intention, one of the multiple things that Krishna is doing, because it's one of the features of Krishna, with one thing he does many things. He has a desire to kill Jarasandha. And so how does that connected with the intentions of the Pandavas? Well, the intention of the Pandavas is that Yudhisthira, the head of the Pandavas, wants to do Rajasuya Yagya. And the reason, what that means is that he would become emperor of the world. And for that to happen, then all kings, we discussed this in relation to the 20,000 kings that were imprisoned by Jarasandha, is the one who wants to become emperor, and under the emperor there's subordinate kings. They confront the kings one way or another and give them the option. You either become subordinate to me, and that means you accept that I'm the power above you, and you give tax, and you become the landholder type person, or there's battle. And, the victor, if you want to fight, you got to fight. Now, the kings didn't fight. The 20,000 that were in prison, they didn't fight. They were given this other option, and the other option was, I'll just put you in prison and I'll kill you by this human sacrifice. It's not common, from what I've understood at least, in Vedic culture that one king imprisons another king. If there's confrontation, there's a battle till one or the other is the victor. So Jarasandha's plan was to kill them, but to kill them by means of a human sacrifice. So all of this is Krishna's plan. So the messengers come from the kings saying, please release us. Soon as the messenger's done, Narada appears. He hasn't said, I've come with a message from Yudhisthira. Krishna knows he's come, and he knows what the message is. He just, how are the Pandavas doing? But the Pandavas want to have a Rajasuya Yagya, at least Yudhisthira wants. And that means all kings have to be submissive. And there's one king that's not going to be submissive. And that's Jarasandha. All the other kings in the country, and who knows, what country meant at that period of time. But everybody except Jarasandha. It hasn't happened yet, because it's going to happen after a little bit. The four brothers are sent in all directions to extract tribute or taxes, or engage in battle. Same procedure. And the one that didn't was Jarasandha. And the 20,000 kings, they were already in jail because he had already tried to get them. It's really, okay, so that's the intrigue. And Narada, being Narada, he understands why he's asking. He doesn't need to ask, he's omniscient, but he's asking because his intention is he wants to kill Jarasandha. But before, rather, Narada, can you suggest the best way to kill Jarasandha? He's asking something else. Because he knows that he's coming as a messenger from Yudhisthira. Text 38. Who can properly understand your purpose? With your material energy, you expand and also withdraw this creation, which thus appears to have substantial existence, obeisances to you, whose transcendental position is inconceivable. Vilakshana Atmane, inconceivable. Purport. Srila Prabhupada explains Narada's realization as follows, quote, My dear Lord, by your inconceivable potencies, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it, and again dissolve it. It is by dint of your inconceivable potency only that this material world, although a shadow representation of the spiritual world, appears to be factual, which is, the first verse of the Bhagavatam, 1:1:1, just restated here. Your transcendental position is always inconceivable to everyone. As far as I am concerned, I can simply offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Paragraph. The word Sva Lakshanatmane also indicates that Lord Krishna has his own unique nature and characteristics. No one is equal to God or greater than God. Common in commentary is like what's being done here. There's statements of Siddhanta or Sambandha Gyan, the relationship of all things in relation to the source of all things. So it's stated and it's stated so that the perspective remains. The perspective remains means the subject matter is the source of everything. So one can it's really easy to forget Bhagavan and become absorbed in the story. So there's repeated standard reminders of Sambandha Gyan. So the narration holds its position as being transcendental rather than through the course of the narration fading and one thinks it's just a nice story. Very interesting story. Narada's relating to the Supreme Person. This is Narada continuing. The living being, caught in the cycle of birth and death, does not know how he can be delivered from the material body, which brings him so much trouble. But you, the Supreme Lord, descend to this world in various personal forms, and by performing your pastimes, you illumine the soul's path with your blazing torch of your fame. Therefore I surrender to you. So the opulences of Krishna, fame is one of the 6 primary principal opulences, and they're being likened to illumination, like a torch. So if you want to understand who is the personality of Godhead, he's luminous. And he's luminous not just by his Brahmajyoti, he's luminous by his qualities. And his qualities are so outstanding, like this quality of fame, as one's eyes become opened. Very nice. Very nice. What's going to happen going forward in this whole narration is when Jarasandha finally is killed, because it takes a while for that to happen, Krishna does 2 things. Immediately, he installs the sun of Jarasandha as the next king, indicating he's not interested in the kingdom. And he's also done it very expertly so that the wealth of Jarasandha's kingdom can be given as tax to Yudhisthira for the Rajasuya Yajna, because he needs enormous wealth to pay for all, to make arrangements for the Rajasuya Yajna. But, so if there had been a big battle, then many of the resources, the assets of Jarasandha's kingdom would have been destroyed in the course of the battle. So it's triple expert. And because the son of Jarasandha, Krishna knew, was not like his father, immediately he became the next king. So that settles like who's going to be the king, because he's been anointed as the king, which is the Vedic system anyways, but it was formalized by Krishna. And what else did Krishna do next? Oh, the thought went away. Oh, yeah. The second thing is he went to the prison where the kings were, and in his presence, because he was exhibiting his effulgence, literally, and not only through his effulgence were they able to see, because the place where they were, there's details described by Jiva Goswami. It was a cave in a mountain with no air, with no light, with no food. It was torture. But as soon as they saw him, all their grief and the feelings of being tormented and all of that was gone. Krishna has such power. So even his fame is effulgent. You, the Supreme Lord, descend to this world in various personal forms, and by performing your pastimes, you illumine the soul's path with the blazing torch of your fame. Therefore I surrender unto you. Prabhupada's paraphrase from Krishna book. In the bodily concept of knowledge, everyone is driven by material desires, and thus everyone develops new material bodies one after another in the cycle of birth and death. Being absorbed in such a concept of existence, one does not know how to get out of the encagement of the material body. Out of your causeless mercy, my Lord, you descend to exhibit your different transcendental pastimes, which are illuminating. Your pastimes are illuminating. His fame is illuminating. His glory is illuminating, which are illuminating and full of glory. Therefore, I have no alternative but to offer my respectful obeisances unto you, my dear Lord. You are the supreme Parabrahman, and your pastimes, as an ordinary human, are another tactical resource, exactly like a play on the stage in which an actor plays parts different from his own identity. But just some appreciation of Prabhupada's gift in writing. He's really masterful. I mean, from what we just read, and the verse, we don't know what, because it's not here, what other acharyas have commented. But it's so elegant and easy to understand, and very sweet. Prabhupada was a masterful writer. And for masterful writer for different audiences. Krishna book was intended, I mean, one of the ways of describing what the purpose of Prabhupada writing Krishna book was, of course, he didn't know if he would be able to complete the entire 12 cantos Bhagavatam, and he wanted to leave behind a proper understanding of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, because professional reciters distort everything, and ordinary people don't have access to what Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan really represent. And so he presented Krishna book. Although he cautioned us, it was very interesting. He cautioned us again and again and again and again, and over and over, like, okay, don't go straight to the 10th canto. Go through all the preliminary cantos before going to the 10th canto, because otherwise one takes it cheaply. And over, okay. Then he went, before he completed, it was in the 3rd canto or something, it was Krishna book, because he wanted to leave that behind. And in wanting to leave it behind, there's things like we just read, to understand the transcendental. Of course, this is not Krishna in Vrindavan, it's Krishna in Dwarka, but to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's exchanges with his devotees, and how just by his being in the presence of Narada, or by his being in the presence of these kings imprisoned by Jarasandha, it had a mystical and magical effect on them, and which Krishna can exhibit or Krishna can not exhibit. Krishna can withdraw it, or Krishna can extend it. So worldly people can't experience what transcendentalists can experience, because the transcendentalists receive special mercy. Or say it, in a different way, same thing in a different way. Whatever one has as realization of Krishna is dependent upon Krishna. He shows himself, and different devotees have different realizations, or different non-devotees have different realizations, based upon their regard for Krishna, and Krishna's simultaneously, just as he's the super soul within all living beings. And how are you going to keep track of all living beings? It's not possible. But for Krishna, it's not only possible, he knows everything about every living being, which is inconceivable. And he perfectly reciprocates with each and every one. So realization is like that. It's Krishna's disclosing something. So he's disclosing to Narada because of Narada's devotion for Krishna. And we're getting to hear Narada's realization spoken directly to Krishna himself. And it's not only just, he and Krishna, they're off in a side room something. They're in the public assembly. But there's Dwarka. And so it's appropriate that Narada's glorifying Krishna the way that he's glorifying, because it's not disturbing anybody's devotion, like it might be if that kind of glorification was given before the residents of Vrindavan, because they have greatest regard for Narada, and Narada starts speaking about Krishna's position as the Lord of all lords, etc., etc. It doesn't fit the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, but it certainly fits the residents of Dwarka. So all these kinds of considerations, they're subtle, but as the writer is very, say, Vyasadeva and the commentators, they're very tuned into their audiences, and they're only disclosing that which their audiences can handle. but to get the deeper and yet deeper and then deeper picture of Krishna's nature, the nature of his loving dealings. So he's enabling Narada to say what Narada is saying, because it's a mercy that Krishna's given to Narada, and he's revealing things about Krishna that, because everyone's regard for Narada, they hear with acceptance. I'm just commenting on the masterful nature of the devotees describing Krishna's pastimes, and Krishna's revealing things to the devotees according to their faith and their devotion to him. And other people can't understand. So, 10 after 8. We'll stop here, see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My question is on the last part of the personal realization. We depend on Krishna for our realization. It's Krishna who reveals. So my question is, if someone is envious or inimical towards Krishna, even their realization also coming from Krishna then?
What do you think? Mataksmatir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. So, confirmed. And now, anything, what else?
So I was just wondering, like...
The answer is yes. Mataksmatir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. You know the meaning. Anything else?
Thank you.
Just a comment, because you were holding like I'm going to say something more. Some devotees in India just asked the same question. Super soul, does the super soul give intelligence to bad people? And if so, why? And what's the function of super soul within the heart of everything? It's not just people; it's all living entities. Prabhupada's example. The cat waiting till the housewife leaves the kitchen so the cat can jump up on the table and take the milk. Or the thief is prowling around in the dark, and super soul indicates, don't go now, someone's coming. And then when they pass, okay, now is the good time, go. So super soul is giving intelligence to all living entities to do whatever they do. How do the birds know to fly south? Someone can say da 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 da, and then the Vedas say, well, the da 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 has everything to do with super soul. He's the controller of the birds flying south for the winter, and whatever else happens in the world.
So, hearing how Krishna's pastimes and his fame and his all activities are illuminating.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
I was appreciating how Prabhupada's pastimes and activities and all his contribution is also so much illuminating to us.
Yes.
And the same with the sadhu's presence. So I was thinking about the application, like yet we need to endeavor when we are doing things. So I was trying to take the application is that when endeavoring, have that conception clear. It's only it's a maybe opportunity given, or or basically like I'm trying to take that, not to lose the Krishna and his devotees personal form.
I don't follow. Everything is fine except the very last part.
Yeah.
Let's do the very last part again.
So I'm only thinking.
You don't want to be forgetful of Krishna's form and the devotee's form.
Yeah.
What's the connection?
So the connection was, when I'm endeavoring, I can usually lost track that the conception that that I'm doing it, or I'm doing the service, and so on.
Yeah, false ego.
So that's the application.
Okay, but why the form of Krishna and the form of the devotees of Krishna?
So why is I'm dealing with I'm feeling like I'm dealing with the impersonal aspects, like this. That's what my thought is going. Like when I'm doing the service, the opulence is already representation of impersonal representation of Lord's opulence.
An opulence of this world is an impersonal representation of the Lord's opulence.
Yeah, it's easy to lose track that it is Krishna's gift.
Well, it's not impersonal representation. It's a vibhuti, and vibhutis aren't impersonal. Vibhutis are Krishna's potencies, and Krishna's potencies, or an expansion in this world of Krishna's spiritual potencies. It's not impersonal. Vibhutis are not impersonal. Vibhutis are personal. They're persons. The vibhutis of Krishna have names, and they have forms.
How?
Yeah. Why not? There's when Brahma. Here's an example. For example, in Canto 2, Chapter 9, Brahma comes before Lord Vishnu. Vishnu shows his form before Brahma. And then there's all these potencies, each with forms of the spiritual world. So those potencies that are of Krishna's in the spiritual world, they have their expansions. A common one, a well-known one, is Cupid. He has form. So everything ultimately has form. So like something else that you've heard me discuss several times, because I've covered it in light of the Bhagavad. The whole book, the book is Prabhupada's poetization of Canto 10, Chapter 20, and it's the rainy season, and the rainy season is personified. She has form, she has qualities, a certain kind of dress, and a certain kind of this and that, and so behind everything there's person. And there's even the manifestations in this realm, they're persons. They're vibhutis of the original, but they're persons. We don't see the persons because we don't have the qualifications, but they're persons. Not impersonal. Vibhutis aren't impersonal. They're reflections of the original, but they're not impersonal. Maya is not impersonal. Maya is a person. And the various manifestations in this realm, they're ultimately persons, and resting upon transcendental persons of the spiritual world, resting upon Krishna. Okay.
I have another question.
Okay.
When reading third canto, Maitreya Muni is mentioned as impersonalist, and then he gets to speak about maybe 1 or 2 cantos in the Bhagavatam, 3rd and 4th cantos. So how is that? Yeah, how is that like? He was considered impersonal, and then he was presenting 2 cantos, like.
Well, by association, he became elevated, like any one of us. By association. He was an ordinary person, even before. Not an ordinary person. But he heard Krishna speak to Uddhava. Anything else?
Dandavad Maharaj, in purport 38, verse 38, purport 38, as it says that, I'm just reading a part of this purport. It says, it is by dint of your conceivable potency only, that this material world, although a shadow representation of the spiritual world, appears to be factual. So the term factual is little confusing or misleading, especially for me, because as you are saying, answering right now, that Maya is not impersonal.
That's right.
And the Vibhuti is not impersonal.
That's right.
But here the line says that it's a shadow representation of the spiritual, appears to be factual.
That's right.
If it is not factual, then
it's factual. But factual in the sense that it's manifest for some time and then it disappears. I'll share something with you. I think you'll appreciate it. It's a little technical, but in the first of the Chatur Shloki verses of the Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse number 33. In verse number 33, in the Chatur Shloki verses, the terms that are used are Sat and Asat. Could you look it up, and I'll just read it directly. Sat and Asat. So the way that the words are translated, Sat and Asat, it indicates that Sat is impermanent and Asat is permanent, which is not the way we normally understand, because there's the transcendence Sat, and in contrast with the transcendent Sat, there's the temporary. However, this is where it gets subtle, so listen carefully. There's a Sanskrit rule. I'll send you I spent some time with this, so I'll send you the document that gives the Sanskrit rule. The Sanskrit rule of why our commentators consistently have translated the Asat as the cause and Sat as the effect, which goes contrary to our normal understanding, is a rule, Sanskrit rule, that the Mahatattva is the cause, and once the cause is not observable, but the part that is observable, the creation, is Sat. When I was asking Sanskrit scholars, it's counterintuitive that to say that for our Acharya consistently, it's in Prabhupada's word for word, and it's in the previous Acharyas, and so why? It's connected to this seeming contradiction that is Maya real or is it not real? Well, it's illusory. We don't say it's false, like Mayavadi. Impersonalists say, this world is false. It's not false. It's real. But it's temporary in that sense. It's insubstantial. Now you see it, now you don't. It's a reflection. Now you see it, now you don't. So when you see a reflection, does it exist or doesn't it? It's a reflection. It exists as a reflection, but it's insubstantial. There's no substance. And that goes back to the first verse of Bhagavatam. This world is insubstantial. There is substance. So the use of terms in Sanskrit depends on the context. So, that the passage that you read, this material creation is not real, because it's just a reflection. But a reflection does exist.
Yeah.
It's just not the substance. It's a reflection of the substance. So in one sense it's real, in another sense it's not real. Maya exists. Maya is a person. Maya came to entice Haridas Thakur. Maya is a person, but insubstantial in comparison to that which is substantial. It's now you see it, now you don't. Insubstantial, like a reflection. Like, the mirage in the desert. It's something. It's not what it appears to be, but it's something. So it's real. It's something, but it's not what it appears to be. So it's subtle. To how to get the proper understanding, we need the proper understanding from proper sources. Otherwise, it looked contradictory. It seemed contradictory. On face value, it's contradictory. A person with reason only operating, is it this or is it that? Because if it's this, it can't be that. If it's that, it can't be this. The binary processor doesn't accommodate, it does not and cannot accommodate transcendence. So the purpose of Sanskrit is what? The purpose of the Vedas is what? Reveal Krishna. And what Krishna is the reconciling point of all contradictions, which is what Queen Kunti says. He's filled with contradictions, apparent contradictions. There's no contradiction, but it's apparent. So, somebody listening to this discussion can go, oh, come on. Word jugglery. Sorry. I'm not interested in word jugglery. I want to know, is it this or is it that? But, Sanskrit is subtle, and Krishna is the reconciling point of all apparent contradictions. And that's part of the mystery of understanding Krishna. He appears to be just like this little section. Is he a king or is he the Supreme Lord? He's a king acting like a king would act to a great sage. And the sage is saying, you're a mystery. We don't understand you. Why are you asking this? Because you have a purpose. You want to kill Jarasandha. And so you're asking, how are the Pandavas? Narada has that acumen. So is he the supreme, or is he a king? A good king, powerful king. He's got lots of, power. Or is he not just a king? So it's subtle. Anyway, that's my response.
Thank you, Maharaj. I just want to say something that
Send me a little note so I can send you this document about Sat and Asat. It's nice. It clarifies. It makes it that which I was stuck on it for like a week and finally got an explanation. It was clear. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I was just saying that even though Prabhupada's purports are very lucid, very easy to read and so forth, I think it's absolutely necessary to have Bhagavatas like yourself to explain the purport of the purport, giving another purport. Otherwise, it's going to be, anyone who reads such lines, there are chances that they may think this is something speaking about Mayavada or things like that. Yeah.
In the past 24 hours, 3 such things came my way, and I'm planning to unpack them. I'm given an explanation, but I want to put it in writing so people can take a look at it. But it's there. It's just it requires faith, and it requires the bhakti. Let's say faith in Prabhupada. He's not contradicting himself when he says it's real and he says it's not real. Seamlessly he moves back and forth. So what's going on? So there has to be, faith in the Acharya and the Acharya's commentaries, and there's a reason behind it. Just slow down and, be faithful and patient and inquire from, and then it becomes very, very simple. But the Vedas, supposing one doesn't have such a person, the Vedas are bewildering. And it's like the elephant and the blind man. You hold the tail and you hold the trunk and you hold the leg and you hold the body and you hold the ear, and it's like, what's going on here? The Vedas are clear, but you have to have a seer to understand the big picture. And Prabhupada doesn't always lay it out. Sometimes he does. But it's context specific, and there's not contradiction. So the rest, Krishna is as the absolute truth. Within Krishna is everything, and there appears to be contradictions within He who is the source of everything, but there's no contradictions. That's kind of fundamental. And even a non-scholarly Queen Kunti, she's not a rishi, but she understands. She's saying she doesn't understand, but she understands. Anyway, so thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Someone else? Do you have something? What? Okay, you want to read it?
This is from 2933.
33.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Sometimes it is said that only the impersonal Brahman existed. In answer to this, it is said in this verse that Brahman, which is superior to effect, Sat, and cause, Asat, is not different from me. This means that I alone appear as the impersonal Brahman in some scriptures, which cannot express the various qualities arising from my Swarupa, because the readers are not qualified. But you should know me, endowed with form and qualities, because you have my blessings and mercy, as expressed in this previous verse. And in the verse, Sat is word to word meaning is the effect, and Asat the cause.
The cause is no longer visible. From when Mahatattva is the cause, it's no longer visible when the manifest is there. Therefore, Asat. And then there's the manifest, that's Sat. The application is different than the usual the one that we're accustomed to. But there's a reason why the acharyas consistently translate them the way that they've translated them. Okay, anything else online? Yes?
Sridhar Das Prabhu says, Guru Maharaj, this question came up in our Harikatha discussion. Principles of religion in Kali Yuga is standing only on one leg, truthfulness. Could you kindly clarify what this actually means?
What it actually means is what it says. That's what it means. Now there's the worldly truthfulness, and that's the Dharma leg. And then there's transcendental truthfulness, and that's the Paradharma leg. So the Swadharma truthfulness derives its strength from the Paradharma truthfulness. And because disciplic succession still exists, even in this age of Kali, the Paradharma truthfulness still exists. Therefore, then there's still Swadharma, at least to some extent, within this age of Kali. And so it's very important. Swadharma, truthfulness, is very important. And it's resting upon the Paradharma truthfulness, which is of paramount importance. So to restore and maintain the Swadharma truthfulness, Paradharma has to be propagated. Next. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.